Good day. Happy Sunday, my fabulous humans. Dumelang, ko gae, dumelang, lona ba re shebileng. My name is Makabelo Motaung. I'm a social and dating coach and your host for this feature. And today I'm talking to Dr. Matthews. He is here to talk to me. We struggled for a bit, but you know what? We got it done eventually. So I'm very excited and very happy to be speaking to him. I'm really looking forward to this. So I'll let the man introduce himself. Dumela.
Hello, Ma.
Guy.
How are you doing, Makabelo?
Good thing.
Great. I'm Matthews Katjene.
Yes, please tell us about
As you have
yourself.
Julie, as you have
As
Julie
I've said,
introduced me. Yeah,
I
I
tried
think the
staying away
introduction is
from the
enough.
surname because I figured I pronounce it wrong.
It's Matthews Katjene, yes.
Katjene. Okay, there you
Yes.
go.
Great.
And what is it that you do, Dr. Matthews, for those who don't know?
I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also a relationship expert. I do a number of things within my consulting firm as well, from assessments, development, coaching, HR and business consulting itself in general. So the likes of your culture change, your workshops in terms of personal mastery, these are some of the things that I do.
Mm. So, Dr. Matthews, you were tagged as one of the guests that I should have on my shows. People were like, "You need to have this guy on the show." I'm like, I don't even know. Okay, man, Dr. Matthews. So I had to stalk you a bit, you know. And why is it that people felt it was important for you to have a voice in conversations that are centered around men?
I'm not sure about that because people would have had, interacted with me in different ways
Mm.
and in different capacities. But I think as a point of interest, I've written a book called The Weeping Tiger,
I
in
wanted
which
to come back to that point.
I deal with a few issues surrounding men. But I suppose that even in therapy, when I do therapy with couples, with men themselves, or with women, we always go through a full transformative path, whether it be with men themselves or, that I encounter. But I think I've been very vocal in this conversation where I feel that men, when were not necessarily given the right space for them to self-express,
Mm.
and for us to really get to understand exactly what men go through, because we've
Mm.
always cited a lot of things what women go through, and I
Mm.
think both sides have got different and varied experiences which needs to be appreciated equally.
Mm.
And because the society on its own has had its own bias towards women challenges, and true, and they are there, they are real, but I realized that there's also a conversation that we needed to have, that
Mm.
men also have a lot
A
of
voice.
challenges,
That's
that and
true.
they need to be heard. Yeah.
I think that's one thing that we shared because when I created Male Say, which is basically centered around conversations with men, I just felt what I've heard enough of what women have to say, but I didn't know anything about what men are saying, from what they think about food to what they think about sex to what they think about family to what it's
Yes.
almost like the voices, yeah, but now is going more and more silent, and we long for that voice. We long ho utlwa hore banna ba reng, ba lla ka eng. But also
Yes.
for us to know how to be better women, we need to know what men are thinking, you know
True.
um because otherwise le rona ha re tsebe hore where are we going wrong. And today our subject is actually infidelity. But before we talk about that, I just wanted to talk about your book a bit. I haven't had the pleasure of reading the book, but the title says A Weeping Tiger, and I
Yeah.
assume the tiger is the man.
Yes.
Why is the man weeping? Ulla kang monna?
I think I took this from the whole notion that tigers don't cry. And if we say tigers
Mm,
don't cry, we're already making an assumption that whatever that men go through, it's something that is more internalized, more than expressed. And we've
mm,
always known most of the time that men can go through difficult times, but for you to show a true character of being a true man, you can't be talking about your problems. Your problems are yours. If you've got challenges, you must always demonstrate the whole facade that you are very strong, you are coping, things are going well, even though we know for a fact that things are not going well. So the weeping tiger, is coined from that particular premise that there are
Okay.
men that are crying, there are men that are having that are, and when you describe the term to weep, most of the time weeping is much more internalized. We can see you that you are there's a lot of pain in your eyes, there's a lot of pain in your heart, but it's more of that silence that comes with this process, that we are not allowed the space to really cough up, or even when we cough up, we might not know how to say it,
How
how
to
to
cope
do it.
up.
You understand?
And I
And who
suppose
to
this,
trust.
yeah, and I
Yes,
suppose it's about ngwaneng le boholong ba rona, ho holeng ha rona, when we're told hore monna ha lle, moshemane ha lle, and I see that a lot of women now are having challenges with how to even raise a boy, because they can
yes,
see ha re tsebe, re na le bana ba bashemane, and we don't even know how to raise them, because we can
true,
see the injustice in how we even raise kids. How na le bana ba two, you would the boy will get less hugs than the girl.
true,
Ke ntho tse nyane that build up
true,
eventually.
true,
I remember I was
true.
having a conversation with one of the guests who mentioned that depression is the highest amongst men, even suicide
Yes,
for that matter, what is
true,
the highest amongst men. And this is what we don't see. Rona re bona banna ba bolaya basadi, but in actual essence, it's men that are depressed, that are committing suicide, then killing
yes,
somebody else to go with them as well, because of the
true,
state of mind that they're in. So I really get
yes,
where you're coming from with the title, The Weeping Tiger.
yes.
Dr. Matthews, today we work at infidelity. What is infidelity?
When we use some of these terms, I always want to contextualize them a bit. And we can talk infidelity within a context of relationship with
Mm,
very clear and defined parameters and boundaries. So we say, there's infidelity in a relationship that says this is a very closed relationship. It's only
mm,
me and you. So in a relationship where there are defined parameters to say there are behavioral, aspects that an individual has to comply by. And in this instance, when you talk infidelity, it means we are men and women. There's no
mm,
third person that is going to come in. And in that space, it means there's a respect of the boundary that the relationship has created, that it's
mm,
only the two of us. And when it's only the two of us, and someone else creeps in into the relationship, whether it's a formalized relationship or it's an informal relationship, or and I'm talking here about whether it's a marital relationship or it's much more of a very open, clear relationship where we're still boyfriend and girlfriend, or boyfriend and boyfriend, or girlfriend and girlfriend, and so forth. So whether it's a heterosexual or homosexual relationship, infidelity comes when the relationship parameters or boundaries have been infringed upon by
mm,
bringing a third person in the
mm.
relationship without
The
it's
knowledge
more
of
to
the
do with
other one.
this, without the knowledge and consent of the other one.
Mm,
Because
mm,
if it's an open or a polygamous relationship, we know also how it happens as well, where people can still
mm,
talk about infidelity in that context. But until such a time that we can be able to put this in a proper understanding, that we have infidelity when the other partner is not happy with the fact that a third party has been brought into the relationship and almost destabilizes the current relationship in its form as agreed.
mm. What causes infidelity? What causes us to go and seek something in other people outside of the ones that we've committed ourselves to?
There are many reasons, Makabel. There are many reasons. And reasons that people advance at times, you'd ask yourself questions as well to say, is this valid? Is this true? Is it the real
Mm,
reason why the person went out? So there are multiple reasons, and you can cite a few. Some people might say, I'm not happy in the current relationship, but
mm,
I cannot leave the one I'm with. So it means I need the benefit of both worlds. One would say, Makabelo's got this kind of characters and Sipatia's got this, I feel like fusing them together to create one woman that I'm looking for. What it means now, if you're not going to do official, it means you're saying, I'll be with Makabelo for the part, and I'll look for Susan or Sipati for the other part. So that's when infidelity comes in, because now you are not necessarily saying you are introducing a new woman in a relationship and you are expanding the circle in a polygamous relationship. But in a monogamous relationship, it's a different ball game in terms of that. So it means the reason that one would advance, whether is that of dissatisfaction, other people talk about not enough sex, not the quality of sex I'm looking for. Some people will be talking about the intellectual engagement, the relationship is no longer there. I don't feel like I'm connecting with this person. And since I met so and so, she makes she makes me think or feel this way. It could be intimacy issues where people are not connecting at an emotional level, where they are not necessarily registering each other's impact on one another. They might not be helping each other in the growth process. And most of the time it's about, am I stimulated? Am I with, when I'm with this person, do I feel like I'm respected? I'm honored? Because there are people that leave relationship and become, go into this infidelity because they feel that this woman does not respect me enough. I don't feel appreciated at home. I don't feel acknowledged at home. I don't feel as though I'm a partner in the relationship. I feel as though, I've got no place in the relationship. And when we go somewhere else, someone is giving you all the things that you're complaining about on the other side, then it's a good reason for one to now engage in infidelity. So many reasons that people could advance on this particular space.
So it sounds like we are actually looking for somebody we go outside to look for somebody to fill a void that's not filled. And then it brings me to the question, is it, were we wrong in our choices, or were we wrong in our commitment to say it's only you, for better or worse, it's only you, it's only you that I will look at? Is that even being humanly possible and realistic? Because at the rate of the infidelity, whether it's the woman that causes it or the man, it makes one wonder, no man, are they even realistic? Do they encompass botho ba rona and the seasonals and the change and the feelings and is it realistic to expect infidelity not to be there?
I think there are also different vantage points to that, and depending on where you are looking at. I've had an instance where, where couples or even men themselves would say, but it wouldn't be, good for us to have an expiry date for this. We tried for 5 years, like a contract. And after 5 years, you can be able to say, can I leave? And I'm going to try and do other options and so forth. I think we need to understand that as people, we are dynamic. And being dynamic, it means we are changeable over a period of time. And changeable meaning there are certain elements of ourselves that we might just need to go over and over at a given point. And this is what I mean. If we're in a relationship and our needs change, and when those needs change, we are not communicating about how these needs have changed and what would we really want to have in this particular process, then we've got a problem. Because what you are raising is important. As people, we are not static. And because we are not static, we will always find certain things that our desires, they also become a bit fluid. So you take, for an instance, that you are in a home where you believe that we should spice up our marriage, for argument's sake. We've been doing this particular style in our sexual encounter for the last 8 years. And it's no longer working for me. The way one would want to introduce that in the household, in the relationship, it's of importance. Because instead of going out there to say, I rather go and explore with someone who looks a bit sexier, who looks a bit, this one looks like they can explore even by me looking at them. But you've got a person here who might be thinking, you are satisfied. You might be under the assumption that your partner is okay because there's nobody talking about this topic. So now, if we're not introducing the topic, it's like to say, Mommy, Papi, there's a challenge. I'm no longer feeling it. Without you fighting as well to say, okay, if you're not feeling it, where else are you feeling it? Because at times, communication breaks when people are introducing life-changing elements within the relationship itself. When I start saying to you, yeah, after
sorry, no, continue.
Because if you introduce a particular topic and say, I would prefer us to explore different styles. Now, we are no longer going to talk about the styles. We are going to spend a lot of time saying, where did you get it? Where did you see it? How do you
Who taught
know
you
it's the
that?
right one?
Who
taught it to you? So we're going to spend a lot of time exploring and fighting over an initiative that could rescue the relationship at that time. So now, if you're not introducing these things, then we've got a challenge that we need to be able to engage on.
But then that tells me there's a problem in how we communicate, or what we communicate and how we communicate it.
True.
What are we doing wrong when we're communicating with our partners? Are we, what are we doing wrong? Wrong, because it's not like you know.
Yeah.
So
I think
communication is it in the tone? Is it in motho self? And then abanka what I'm saying and not be open to hearing it. Like when is it is it the timing? Maybe Kim just say bad news. Is it, what is it that we get wrong? Communication.
you see, the relationship structure plays a fundamental part in this. What I mean with the relationship structure is this. There's a way, whether we like it or not, the way we have defined our relationships. Whether in this relationship we're equal partners, whether in our relationship there's someone who's leading, there's someone who's following, and it's rigidly defined. There's Makabelo can never lead in this relationship. I'll always lead. Or someone always is a follower, cannot bring new initiatives. And if they bring a new initiative, it has to be questioned. The other one can bring a new thing, it's implemented without questions as well. So there's a relationship dynamic here that we need to look at to say the two people in a relationship, how are they interacting with one another at the communication level? True, timing could be everything, but the interactional pattern that has been described by the couple itself
From day one.
From day one.
Yes.
And it could be changing as well over time, but we might not, because remember, there are also couples that are fighting every day. They never want to hear anything from the other one. You bring a new thing, it will never be accepted. And the other one brings a new. So the relationship is continuously in a state of disarray. Nobody wants to listen to the other. So meaning our communication pattern, no one is listening, no one is internalizing, no one is responsive, no one is constructive. We are all, engaged in destructive men. That's why. Now, when we, let's say for argument's sake, and others would, argue that out, and other men would say, every time I speak to that woman, or, it's a challenge. Or even women will say the same thing. Speaking to that man is a mission. So what do? You say, no, let me go and speak. Let me go somewhere else. When I speak to XY, she listens so much. She gives me attention. I can even hear myself thinking when I'm with that person. So communication breakdown happens when we are unable to acknowledge why the relationship exists. Because I don't think we've got the time as well, most of the time, to examine the life of the relationship, to do a stock take on the relationship and say, but, we've been here 5 years, baby. What's happening? Are we okay? And it's nice at times to go.
We don't define these things. We don't take time to find out these things.
And it's trial and error. And in that trial and error, so many fundamental mistakes are also committed, where people do not really understand. Because as well, you've got different languages, where Gary Chapman talks about 5 love languages. To say, but do I understand my wife's language? Do I understand my partner's language? Whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, do I understand how they want to be loved, cared for, and so forth? So if someone tells you to say, I would appreciate once in a while for you to bring me flowers, it's a very clear request. Once in a while, give me, flowers. Instead of bringing flowers or hitting the call for flowers, you start asking, even irrelevant questions about the flowers. Or, because the person who's been asked does not register the need of the other person. As a result, Makabelo says, no, I'll find someone who can buy me flowers. And now they're not going to buy me flowers once in a while. They'll bring flowers 5 days a week, and they deliver them at work in the presence of my colleagues. I love attention. I want someone who can come to my work and say, hey, baby, can I take you out for lunch, for argument's sake?
And display affection in public like that.
Something like, because it talks to you as an individual. Remember that this is a personal element. It's a preference that you are looking for. You want to be able to engage on the mat because there's something in it for you. It makes me feel this way. It makes me think this way. It makes me engage on these aspects in a way that helps you to mold the relationship. But if you're not going to communicate, I'm not happy. It starts there. I'm not happy with 1, 2, 3. And the other person who's listening must be able to say, tell me more about what you are not happy with. But when it says, I'm not happy, then we go to, you've never been satisfied since I met you anyway. So what's new?
What you're saying is very real and very valid. But on the other hand, my concern is, okay, 5 years kaofela una le nna, you've never spoken about your feelings. Then out of the blue, 5 years, you start talking about your feelings. The foundation has never been there to talk about our feelings. We go to alcohol and sex and TV has kept us going. So now those things are not even there. Nothing else keeps us going. So feelings how it's another thing, So it's always difficult to bring new ways of relationshiping if you've never even set the foundation right to begin with, So to come and communicate your feelings, I'm not satisfied when we've never even had a platform where we are allowed to talk about these things, poses almost a risk on the relationship, but a risk on being misunderstood as well, because we have never spoken about anything. We've never spoken about our feelings. We've never spoken. So communication, I think, is a better we can communicate. But if we've never created a space to communicate, it poses a very defensive, hostile, almost environment, doesn't it?
But you see, the whole notion there now, it creates another space, because if we have not done it before, it does not mean necessarily the status quo was acceptable. And I think this is where many relationships find it a bit difficult to transit, because let's take 5 years as our honeymoon period. Other people's honeymoons, they last longer. Other people's honeymoons, So if we've been in the honeymoon for the last 5 years, it does not mean the fact that now we are getting to the 6th year where things are becoming, a bit loose. They need to be redefined a bit. It does not mean, we are unable to sit down and engage, because the character of that relationship then says to me, the relationship does not have a review mechanism of some sort. Remember, even when we are happy, does not mean a relationship is reviewed because we are not happy. The relationship has to be reviewed continuously. Even in our happiness, we can still build on the happiness itself. Even when we are not, doing that well, it means we can be able to correct certain things of the relationship and still expand some of these things going forward. So for me, it's not it's more like what you've just said, is that it's more like, don't rock the boat. This boat has been sailing, and whether we've been about to capsize, no, we've been going on. So, and unfortunately, there's what we can call a symptom bearer. There'll always be one person in the relationship who will recognize that something is not right, and that person has to be used properly in the relationship to say, are we really saying the right things? The person forces the relationship to have a real look at itself. And I think when we've got that, you've got that one person, because I always want that time to say, if you've got two people and they've been together for so long, none of them saw that something was not right in this relationship. For me, that's ignorance, to be honest. That if we're ignorant to that extent, it means we are not looking out at, bettering the relationship on an ongoing basis, because a relationship is a vehicle that needs to be serviced every after 10,000, if it's diesel, every 15,000 if it's petrol.
Yes.
So all of those things, it has to be a continuous measure. Whether something is broken or it's not broken, remember, you're still taking the car to the service to make sure that you are already circumventing a future problem that might arise. So at that point in time, I think there's an understanding that if we have not introduced certain values in the relationship, it's never too late to introduce new ways of doing things, especially to salvage the relationship. You do not want to get to divorce or to separation for you to realize that there's a problem in this marriage.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. I can hear you.
I think I lost you there. Are you here?
I'm here. Are you
Oh,
there?
okay. No, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here. I hear you. We've got a question here from Dumi. Uri Dumi, how do we encourage men to share their feelings and pain?
I think the first thing is cultivation of an environment conducive for sharing. Because remember, if the environment is not right, if we are not right to each other, how do we start to share? Because remember, we must understand that, in this process, the relationship is that we go into this because we trust one another. I can share what I'm going through, the pain, the struggle that I'm going through, if I trust you in this relationship. So a relationship of trust is there. A climate of, is created such that we are able and we are free to talk to one another. So in more ways than one, and it starts with you, to me sharing, and the partner as well say, Papa, do you have anything to share? Baby, do you have anything to share? But it can't be, in a classroom context. Teacher comes in, okay, let's hear, how was your day, Katjene? It starts with you to ask, to say, I've had this kind of a day today. It was terrible. So when we are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable with each other, we then create another element where the other person feels safe to be able to say or do certain things with you, in that particular company. So it's important that that climate is properly created. But the relationship has to almost go into a value proposition of some sort. What do we value in our relationship? Let's talk about that first before we start doing the stock taking.
Wow, that's a good question. What do we value in our relationship?
We value this, we value that. So when you ask about, how my day was, it's part of what we're valuing. We value check-in. We value, our well-being. We value, that our general way of interacting with others and interacting with ourselves and interacting within. So what we value has to supersede, many things, because now we are inputting on the value proposition that we have for our marriage. We are even reviewing it value by value in terms of saying, how are we doing? We said we've got a value of communication. How are we communicating? I feel we are not communicating as well. I feel when I communicate, you crush me. I feel when I communicate, it's you only who speaks for the rest of the time that we are evaluating. So it's a number of things there which will create a climate within which to me and partner could be able to say, now we are sitting here and we are talking about our relationship and we are honest about it. I don't like it, dear. Well, I'm not fighting you. Remember that. At times, there are ways when we hear them as if people are fighting us. I don't like the way you talk to me.
They trigger
I'm not,
something.
I'm not fighting you. I'm just giving you an instance, an indication of what I'm going through at the moment. Other people, the word, let's talk, it gets them on an offensive. Let's talk.
Yeah, no, I hear you. To me, it's actually a comment from her. We do quarterly reviews at work, but we never do for relationships. Is it important to say every year, every 6 months, this is how you're performing, this is what I'm happy with, this is where I'm not happy?
I'm for that. And I think when we started, I indicated that to say the fact that we never sit and do those things. And we assume it's been 5 years. It's a long time that we've been going through this path, but are we still okay? Things that I can do better, things that I think you can do better. So truly speaking, we should be able, and I always say, at times we do not have the money, we do not have, the space to do some of these things as well. There's a time where we should just be able to say, even when kids are not around, are we taking our time just to be in our room or whatever and do a stock take? We don't need to go anywhere else. But we need to have the time, whether we do a quarterly, whether we do an annually, whatever works for the couple itself. But we require a time to reflect. We require a time to re-engage.
To get feedback, to be able to take it as well. To be able to take being criticized, because your partner will criticize, but at the same time, it's for the benefit of the relationship. We are not accustomed to taking negative feedback of any kind, because but we need to be able to take that, I guess. Ne?
True, and I see some of the comments that like the likes of Reggie saying here. Reggie says black women love to fight. They don't know how to just talk. So that's the
There's
thing.
The truth to that. There's the truth to that.
You understand, and that's the part that when we have not defined the values of the relationship, what, when, how, because that speech is the how to deliver this message. You could be delivering a very good message, but the how you deliver it could even can dismantle the whole relationship space in a way that you might not necessarily, you can even make matters worse by that very way that you've responded to a very simplistic element that we could do. So more ways than one, we should be able to say, and that's the feedback space. Do I like the way you address me? If I don't like the way you address me, can we not address this thing? The way you speak to me, the way you call me out in front of people, the way there are things that you do that tick me off. Can't we sit down and talk about those? I want to care for you, but there are these things that are not going well. So that at the end of the day, we can even ask the question to say, if we have ring-fenced these things, we are having quarterly reviews, we are engaging so nicely, we're giving each other feedback, but why is X still now, accused of infidelity? Because some of the things are not resolved to a level where people would want themselves to say, I'm satisfied and I can see a positive change from the other person. The other person hears me. They understand that I'm also human. They understand that, there are certain times where I don't feel like certain things. And when I'm pushed, I'm forced into things, I don't react very well. So at most of the time, it's more about, do we know each other as couples? Do we know each other well? To say, hey, Haliso, I must just back off.
Give me space,
Space. So Babamba socialize or space more space saying and so those are fundamental mistakes that we do because your relationship is yours. It's not about what you've had out there. Now, because there are also wrong examples that we give each other. Makabelo and Sipati and Nancy, they meet together and they say, Nakimweta saw. How can a moto a trier? You find that you've got another person to look at because you've got a unique person that you need to deal with who says to you, speak to me, don't preach at me, don't make noise to me. I said to you, if you want to say something, make sure that you don't do it when you are drunk.
There's a lot to take in. You've said so much, I don't even know where to start. I hope you guys are taking notes. But so far, what has stood out for me is how are we communicating as a couple? And also the what, the when, and the how of the communication. The what and the how and the when of the relationship. And my next question would be: does infidelity affect us the same, Rona, as Basadi Libana or Luna? It's different to you. Does it affect us the same?
I think dealing with human dynamics for some time now, I've realized that the pain, and I think the notion out there is that men are unable to take, infidelity well, same as women because women are more forgiving and so forth and so forth. The exposure in terms of, people that I work with and the engagement that I've been through in this, therapeutic interaction is that I've seen that the impact of pain is the same. Nobody at any given time, you see, we shouldn't confuse impact and response. Because at times when you are impacted, there's a time where you're so severely impacted that you go through a particular time or a space that you want to be able to to heal. There are other people that do not require that much time because they've already made that decision. I'll heal on my own. So a lot of people, they are impacted negatively when infidelity creeps in because each one of us, is a feeling being, an emotional being. When that creeps in, it leaves a certain void within you and it leaves a certain element of insecurity as well. Even though whether you are the most intelligent, whether you are the most beautiful, or you are the one, you've got all the money that you can have, the context is that something has been done to you and your self-concept, your ego has been bruised as a result of that. And the trust and hope that we had that we had placed in a particular person through the relationship has been thwarted at that moment in time. So each one of us, doesn't matter whether you are a man or you are a woman, disappointment is disappointment. Hurt is hurt, frustration is frustration, and whatever we go through when you are taken out of your comfort zone, where you thought things were well, and now you realize with the act of infidelity that I've been lying to myself. I thought I'm living the dream. I thought things were so hunky-dory. I thought I've got the man of my dreams or the woman of my dreams. When that happens, it shatters your world. It really, you can see your world crumbling in front of you because at the end of the day, all of us at that moment, we become vulnerable emotionally. Well, vulnerable in many ways because you saying there's so much that I've given to this relationship. I've given myself. I never thought that I'm supposed to be competing for my position. I'm supposed to be, fighting for my role as the husband or as a wife and so forth. So at the end of the day, we can have the responses and impact is impact, like I said, but at the response level, you've got people that are saying, um, there's a problem here. There's a problem here. How then do I then get myself to a point of saying, how am I going to respond to it? Some women would respond to it to say, I'm leaving now. Other women saying, I'll give you another chance. Other men will still say the same. It has happened and so forth. I'm done. It has happened once, a queen careless. Other women say, You say you've made a mistake because you are apologetic, and you say you'll never do it again. So the response differs as well, because at the response level, everyone is talking to self in a different way. What does this mean to me? But others are even doing a broader stock take to say, I've been with you for so long, nothing of the sort has happened. But maybe it's because you were sidetracked. Maybe you were blinded by other things. Maybe other people, they even blame themselves for their partner's infidelity.
Actions,
You understand?
because then I sit with it and think I was not perfect, I was not right. The other person was better than me, you know?
Yes. So all of those things, when they're at play, at the response level, everyone will respond based on their circumstances. They will respond
What circumstances this that we're responding to when we respond to this?
Remember, other people, for argument's sake, there's infidelity, but they're depending on the perpetrator. Where are they going? They're not going anywhere. And maybe even the perpetrator knows that there's no way you're going to go. You are stuck.
I'm your bread and butter.
I'm your bread and butter. And they are here, but they are unhappily here. They are not freely here because there's a meal ticket to this process.
They are unhappily here.
You understand? So the challenges are there. So the other people feel that I love this person so much that I'm willing. Those are the circumstances. I cannot bring myself to not having this man in my life or this woman in my life, even though there is this infidelity that is, crippling this relationship. And until such a time that we can be able to go through the crux of the problems, because we don't know. Other people, maybe they're designed to be polygamous. Other people are designed to be monogamous. We don't know. But there's a relationship preference here, where you said it's 1-to-1, can never one beat 1-to-2. It's a relationship preference on its own. So if these circumstances are not dealt with, if these circumstances are not mitigated on, we are likely to see a resurgence of this continuous process where one person is still not happy. Only one. I always say, if there's only one person happy in a relationship, there is a problem.
We must both be happy.
We must both
have a comment.
Be happy. Yeah, because
we have
if
a
one
comment
of us is happy, then we've got a serious challenge, because it means someone is taking a ride on someone else's back. And that's not a relationship. That's not, because the relationship says we are meeting somewhere. It's a meeting of minds, it's a meeting of hearts, it's a meeting, of ideologies, it's a whole process where we all engage in a different way. But we need to be able to be integrated in that space.
We have a comment here from Edith. That is true. I saw on Facebook page a question was asked, what is that one thing people find difficult saying to their partners? And half of the comments were saying they wish to tell their partners they don't want to be there anymore. Why is it so hard for us to say?
Yeah, and you see, and I like that, because if a person says, I do not want to be here anymore, it's a bucket full of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years of a story where we are unable to say, and if we are unable to be friends as partners, then what are we doing here? Because I should be able to come back anywhere and say to you, today I had one of the most difficult days of my life, where I felt as though I can even resign right now. The challenge is you are not free enough with this person that you can tell in the face and say, baby, today it was a hell of a day, or today it was not the way I'm used to in bed. What happened? Hey, today your mind was somewhere else. Why can't we say that to each other and say, what happened? Then the person says to you, hey, I thought I'll deal with this thing, but my mind is preoccupied. Tomorrow I've got this interesting meeting or critical meeting where my fate is being discussed. How do I get an erection when I've got problems in my head? Because it's all in the head. How do I become available as a man or as a woman to another partner if I'm half here, half there? If I'm not fully immersed in you to tell you today that right now I'm not sleeping because under COVID-19, there's a lot of problems now. I'm not getting my full salary and so forth. And I'm just thinking that I can just improvise, even though I've got a partner that I can tell everything to, unless I do not have the trust that is required to be in that relationship, to trust this partner enough. Or because remember, and that's why it becomes critical. Every time you've been asked before that, are you okay? Makabel used to be saying, no, we are fine, my dear, we are fine. Like you said earlier, now how do I rock up in the morning and say I'm not happy when I've been not happy all the time? Yes, you might not have been happy all the time, but today is your day of reckoning. You want to be able to say to the other partner, baby, we need to do something. This boat is sinking. So until we've developed that openness, let's divorce for the right reasons, but let's stay for the right reasons.
Ooh, that's powerful, Dr. Matthew. Ms. Ari, the thing about being vulnerable in a relationship is a lot of pain you harbor is caused by the very same person you need to talk to. And that's why we grow accustomed to sweeping it under the rug and not addressing the real issue.
And you see, vulnerability is not a bad thing when it's used correctly in a relationship. And I think because of it being abused most of the time, because how we see how partners work. I give you my vulnerability, or I'm vulnerable towards, in a particular situation, and I let you in on this thing. If you're going to use it against me at some point, then we're no longer in a relationship. So can I trust you with my heart? Can I trust you? Can I trust you that even when we part ways, you can say, oh, when we are disagreeing, do you still have my best interest at heart? So if people have an argument and now it's a fight, it's a problem. Because it's a fight now of even rehashing things from 20 years ago or 15 years ago or 5 years ago. Yes, you did this to me, you did that to me. And we thought we have passed on that part. But if one is vulnerable enough to say, right now, I'm very weak. I don't know, how things are happening. I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know what, all of these things. If you are in a partnership, I believe that they are an inherent part of that relationship. If you say to me, you are in a relationship, but you say, but I've got things that I don't tell him, then my question is that a relationship? Or it's a partial relationship? There are things that we can deal with, there are things that we can deal with. So meaning we are in a part relationship. So you need to be clear to yourself as well to say,
partly cloudy.
It's partly cloudy. It's not the standard. All of them.
Letitia is speaking to your very point. Uri, we don't know how to be vulnerable in front of our partners. Both genders, badlala steering. Let's teach our partners how to communicate with us both ways. It's our responsibility to address things that affect us and start all over. Which is exactly what you were saying now about vulnerability.
Yeah, and we can't say it otherwise. You need a partner that can almost give you a variety of emotions. You know them. There are times where you say, I've never seen my wife smile. I've never seen my husband happy. I only saw once we were visiting. Ka bona leino la mohlahare la monna ka ha nkebe ke le bone. And there are people like this, we don't know each other's side so well that we end up in a space where the relationship is not growing. Because if you know your partner well, even when they walk in through the door, you'll see something is up. Because they're vulnerable to you. They are not putting a facade of saying, and then you go back and say, hey, let me go and attend to him. Or even if you're on a phone, you even leave the phone. Say, hey, I'll talk to you later. Let me go and attend to this. My husband has just arrived or my wife has just arrived, because you can see something is there. You say, what's happening? Talk to me. And the person can trust you enough to talk to you, to say, I'm about to lose my job.
Safe enough.
Safe. Because if I'm not safe, how do I tell you things that are earth-shattering? If I don't
because
trust
we
you
have
enough.
things that are earth-shattering. We have stories with us. We have our stories.
True.
You know, and what is the impact of then infidelity in a relationship? The impact of it to us, to the relationship, to the marriage.
You see, this button called the reset is not always good. Reset for many, because when when you go on that button and say reset, you must be willing to go all the way. Because in many instances, many homes, they become very cold as a result of that. To bring back the warmth of the home, to bring back the trust, to bring back the cooperation, to bring back the unity, it takes a bit of time. And the challenge is that you've got now the victim and the perpetrator. Let's call them that, because we do not have a better word to use for that part. But the victim feels as well that they've got the right to drive how far this rehabilitation process should go, and the pace. The person who is a victim in this whole thing dictates the pace of the engagement now. Are we going left or are we going right?
So
right now,
key.
I've got the key. I'm not ready. The person on the other side, the perpetrator on the other side, wants this thing to be done and over with, so that we can move on. It's not the same anymore. Now, the risk in the relationship is that reset button is not only starting at 0, it's even starting at minus. Because you have to work your way up into that trust barometer. You have to, because other people say, I took him out of my heart. I took her out of my heart. Now, the process, if we are going to still be together, it means I need to gradually bring you back into my heart. I need to bring you back into my personal space. Other people can go to an extent of saying, at this point in time, because there was infidelity, let's start with the tests as well. We're going to go back to Dr. So-and-so. We're going to do tests for STIs. I do not want to die. And tests for HIV.
HIV, for Corona, while we
all of that. So we're going to test. Now, other people, the perpetrator might feel to say, this is infringing on my autonomy now. This is infringing on a number of things. It means now I'm a child. I should be able, wherever I go, I must tell you, whatever corner I do, normally I would via Spar to buy bread. Now, because I'm timed, you leave work at 5 and it's only 10 kilometers away, you should be home latest 20 past 5. And if it's 21
and that
past
kills
5,
the relationship on its own, dragging the pain, dragging the wrongfulness of the other person, what they did, dragging it. It also kills the relationship.
But you see, you cannot fault the dragging. It's the healing process of the other person. Because when a person heals, they heal in their own way. Hence, I'm saying the reset button has got its own consequences. Because you've redefined the way the relationship was at the beginning. There was a lot of work that was done over a period of time. And one incident has just messed it all up. It has messed it up to a point of saying, now we have to rebuild. You could come back home 2 hours after your knock off. There was nothing wrong with it. But now, because it says, okay, you've got too much time in your hands. That's why you are everywhere. Come back. Now you are almost put like, other people say, now I'm a child. Now, and it happens on both sides, whether it's women or it's men, the rules become very stringent. And now everybody's saying, but I can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with it anymore. I thought I can. And there are people that along the way, when they're trying to find healing and find forgiveness, things might work out, things might not work out, because it becomes very, very difficult. That's why, at some point, you've got two parts. I've got a husband on one side who went through a divorce because he cheated once. But the other guy on the one side who's been cheating multiple times, has been forgiven and is still there. And the other person compares themselves with the other. Why only once I'm divorced? And so I know he's been there for so many times and doing the same thing, but he's still there with the wife. So meaning we are impacted differently. And a person who's hurt, a person who's going through a difficult time because of infidelity, they continuously need to be reassured. They continuously need to be given, some space and engagement, and they'll keep on raising this question over and over again. When we are happy and seated there and say, okay, tell me, what did you see in that lady? Are you going to refuse to answer the question? I've answered this question last month. I've answered this question
every day.
So now the perpetrator gets angry for answering the questions that are asked by the victim. So
even decide for one second, let me let it go because I can't go through this. Let me let the entire relationship go because of these questions.
And the other person might be feeling that I just want to make sure that we're in the right space. That's all. So it's different strokes for different folks, because our reaction is ours. It's personal.
I know, I hear you. But how do I confront the infidelity? How do I confront whether it's the woman or the man who found out?
You see, the very place where the relationship is at, Makabel, you see, that's where the problem is. Why should you rehearse saying something that affects you in your relationship? It's as blunt as that. Hey, Mutamudim, what's happening? Right?
I need to rehearse.
Why are you rehearsing something that is in your relationship? You see, the problem is, if maybe when you are the third person as well, you know, maybe I want to write your both. And that's what you think. I don't have the right to ask. But if you know that you've got all the rights and obligations of this relationship, all the rights and privileges of the relationship you have, why should you rehearse confronting an issue in your home? And it might not be about infidelity only, any issue. Why should you think about it? And even
I'm waiting to calm down, doctor. I'm waiting to calm down. I'm waiting to be in a space where I can communicate. I can work on communication now.
How long does it take you?
I don't know. Maybe how do I know I'm ready to communicate it? Maybe do I just confront it? Those people make you think we are Jola 99. That show makes you think we just are quick to be impulsive and end up doing wrong things in the process of confrontation, you know. But
you see, over indulging in that engagement, I understand. You know, what we need to do is that to confront issues, yes, you need to be of the right state of mind, but there's a fine line as well. When you want the other person to really understand the intensity and the impact of the act, vis-a-vis when I come with a rehearsed response. A rehearsed response, it's good for, in certain aspects. But what I'm saying is that, why should we always resort to fighting when we are supposed to say something that we are supposed to say over? Why should we be there? Why should we be gathering the dinner and so forth? But because the issue here is for me to say to you what I know, how it makes me feel, how I thought about it, and so why should we dilly-dally around the issue? Why are we socialized to go and take the panga, whatever? Because those are
not dealing with the issue. Even that is not
inappropriate ways of solving problems. And we solve the problems because we just want to make, because I'm not going to talk to you. You're going to come with Tina Wangkotla. We're going to focus on the wound now. Because Ketswamadi. But that's not what we want. We want to solve a problem. So many ways, because at times you just discover something, you want to talk to this person. Yes, at times you might feel like as if you want to throttle them, but that's not what we want. We do not want people throttling each other. When people say, whether when we speak about it, I might not be calm, but I might speak about it. Doesn't mean every time that I might not raise my voice. I might raise my voice. But the main thing is that I might point at you. But with that happening, it means I also want you to register that I'm engaging with you from a point of a hurt person. I'm hurt. I've discovered this. I'm not happy with it. So we're going to engage on a number of things in terms of the problem. Because most of the time, I think we're so much used to defending ourselves that's why we say we need to prepare. You know, it's not like preparing for a performance review at work where you need evidence as well. You know, support why you deserve a 4, not a 5, or a 2, not a 3. Yeah, there's something that needs to be told. I might say it wrong, but the relationship must be able to say, as I go through it, let's engage with it. I don't want to talk to you right now. There's something that happened, and I'm going to wait myself to come down. I'm going to go to my room, but why are you really cheating on me? Then I'm going to my room. I'm going to come down. But I've left you with something to think about. It's not about now we are running. You know, other people, they don't even sleep at home. Once they discover, what's happening? What's happening is that I'll talk to you when I'm ready. Or the auntie can arab phone. What ready? How ready now? You've run away from the problem because now it's going to take days and days. It's now you say, okay, all right, let me see what I can do as well. And it's all very misaligned when we engage in those kind of ways.
Dr. Meth, you've got so many comments, but we have run out of time. I only asked for an hour of your time, and out of respect for that, I wanna keep it at that. But you know, you mentioned pain, but we've seen how men handle infidelity when their woman has went out and had an affair. They don't forgive. They let go of the relationship. They divorce there and there. It's very rare for going outside, you know. And so if as a woman, I have wronged, how do I come back and fix? Because men operate differently, whether we like it or not, you know. How do I come back and mend this? Can I be forgiven, number one, as a woman? I had an affair and now I'm coming back to you and say, husband, I have wronged you.
I think if we take where we started in context, to say if it's known that at some point we were unable, because generally men were resorting to these other things, whether it's a divorce, it's about killing the partners and whatever, because they cannot face the fact that they are hurting and their egos have been severely bruised. And the belief is that at this point in time, as humans, if a woman can forgive a man can forgive if they want to forgive. You see, it's about, and because there are also other women who don't forgive. So, as much as there could be a number of traits to say in that house, and because the cases are many in that state where you say a man has killed 1, 2, 3, 4, and women, those are less reported, so to speak. But there are many incidents where you would hear that this woman went to the workplace, we don't hear those things, and they are there. They are there. You understand? So all of these things, we are all, both sexes reacting differently. But men, because predominantly they are known not to want to engage on these matters, especially emotionally charged matters. They are unable to try to rise to the emotional component. They want to intellectualize it. You say, you can't tell me how you feel. What were you thinking at the time? And so because of that transitory process, we always say men have it more difficult. They are for not forgiving easily. And I can give you, I've got examples of men who have forgiven. But I've also seen men who are struggling with that forgiveness. As much as I've seen women who are also struggling a lot with that. And I've seen women who said, I don't need you to on this one. I've made a decision already in terms of that because I'm not in a space to allow this person because because we're impacted differently. There's a way that we can still come back, say I'm sorry, and be able to walk the plank, because when you walk the plank it will be difficult and you have to navigate yourself correctly through it. But it does not take away the fact that each one of us is affected differently and we must not take it the same
And
way.
importance ya hore this one is more, this one is less. Bohloko ke bohloko, ha bona ratings,
No.
Dr. Matthews, thank you so much for making time. I'm going to let you go. But before I do, where do people find you? Where do they find your book? How do they get in contact with you for your counseling and all the other services that you offer?
We've got offices in Pretoria East at Lombardy Business Park. I think when you go to my professional work Facebook page, Dr. Matthews Katjene, PsychWell, those details are also there in terms of the time, our operating times and so forth. And if you need the book as well, you just make the inquiry there to say you need the book. We can get the book couriered to you directly as well on our side, and all the banking details will be provided as and when you want to make that particular purchase. And our website again is www.psychwell.co.za. Also, all the offerings that I offer in my company, PsychWell, they're also indicated on that.
I'll share that page on my timeline. Guys, this has been so nice. Again, one had commented, doctor, but I no stop there is a lot of comments there, and hopefully, maybe one day we'll have him back for part 2. He clearly has a lot to share with us. I've learned a lot personally. Thank you so much for honoring the invite and
Thank you for
making
having me.
time to share with us. I'll share the details on my timeline. Thank you so much, Doctor. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.